Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Trailer Hustle Podcast. My name is Justin, and this is the Trailer Owners Network. In today's episode, we are talking all about rental contracts, okay? And this is, I know, kind of a boring subject on its surface, but this is obviously one of the biggest things that's going to protect you in this business. And, you know, the biggest thing is this little piece of paper right here, okay? This contract here, okay, or whatever yours is going to look like. This is the thing that's going to allow you to sleep good at night and not sit there worrying about bickering with a customer over a weekend because of a bent axle or something like that. So I don't care if you're on trailer 1 or trailer 100. If your contract is weak or non-existent or whatever, you're not running a business, you are gambling. Okay, plain and simple. So I took some notes here. I'm going to cover what I put in my contract. Now, first of all, just so you guys know, at trailerhustle.com, or in the link in the bio of this video if you're watching on YouTube, trailerhustle.com. Or if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, trailerhustle.com, you can get access to my contract. You can customize this. It's an editable thing. You do have to have a PDF editor in order to edit this thing. But if you want to get a copy of my contract to use for your business, or if you want to get a copy of the maintenance logs, the maintenance log also comes with suggested maintenance schedules. We also have available the dump trailer contract with a cheat sheet of common material weights and things like that. Okay. That's another thing that you'll get in volume and weight conversions and stuff like that for you guys to use. There's also a pre-rental checklist. So that way, if you guys want to use that to kind of start forming those good, healthy habits now, pre-rental and post-rental checklist. All of that is available at trailerhustle.com, as well as 1-hour consultations with me. So if you want to sit one-on-one with me for 1 hour at least and kind of go over everything, answer all your questions, help you get started, I'm happy to do that. I love doing this stuff. Now, I will say this, guys. All the information that I can give you, the bulk of it, most of it, all of it, is available for free in the Trailer Hustle Facebook group. So if you're not in the group, feel free to join the group, search everything. So before you pay me any money or do any of that, the only reason why I charge for it is because it does take a lot of time, even though I really enjoy helping people. But I do have that available for you guys. So if you want to do that, go to trailerhustle.com. Before you do that, if you're not already, join the Trailer Hustle Facebook group, okay? Now, even if you see a lot of the information, you think you know what you're doing, and if you're like me, I mean, I just like to talk to somebody and hear it, firsthand from somebody. So if you're like me and that's what you want to do, go to trailerhustle.com, and check out the consultation. And you get all these contracts, you get all these documents that you can download with the consultation purchase. But today we are talking about contracts, okay? What's in my contract and that sort of thing. Now, on the back of my contract, I cover quite a few things. I'm going to go over each one of those and tell you the gist of what it covers and why you need it. And I'm also going to, of course, a lot of this is going to be, common sense stuff. But I'm going to tell you guys what's in my contract. All right. And again, trailerhustle.com, guys, if y'all want to get a hold of this thing. Now, I know there are some insurance providers that do include a version of this or like their version of a contract, whatever. There's a bunch of them out there, guys. There's a bunch of contracts out there. I know Juan offers his contract and you join his $50 club. So you guys can get that if you join his group. Shout out to Juan. But yeah, totally up to you guys. This is $49 on trailerhustle.com, or we have the pack of all of these together for, I think, like $84, something like that, $85. And the consultations are $169.95. But that includes everything that you see, including the consultation with me. So I made sure I took notes here just because it helped so much in last week's podcast. And by the way, hats off to all you guys. And, thank you for the feedback from last week's episode where we talked about on Friday, where we talked about Google reviews. That was very well received. And I really appreciate you guys listening to that. And just like Trey posted today in the group, actually, it's already working. He's and thank you for the shout out, Trey. But he got a Google review because customer damaged some stuff, nothing major. And he just asked for a good Google review and he's able to handle it himself. So that review is worth way more than him collecting a couple dollars to, get his trailer fixed, or to just to put in his pocket for him fixing his own trailer. So in any case, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of make sure I stay on topic here, stay on task here. So what is included in my contract and why is a contract important? So first of all, contract is insanely important because it's what's going to prevent any kind of confusion between you and the customer, or you and your business partner, or whoever you enter into an agreement with. It's also going to be the thing that kind of releases you from any potential liability or issues for the most part. Not to say that things that are in black and white can't still be superseded by other things, but this is going to give you a pretty damn good start. Okay. So first and foremost, what should be in your contract? I'm going to tell you what's in mine. If you don't use mine, that's cool. If you want ChatGPT to make you one, ChatGPT to make you one, if you want to hire a lawyer to make one, if you want to make one yourself, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Here's at least what needs to be in here. Okay. Number one would be the definitions. Now, definitions basically is discussing who you're talking about. If you use the word we, who does that reference? If you use the word you, who does that reference? If you use any word about like the equipment, what is that referencing? It basically is just saying, who is who and what counts as a trailer and how loss of use and value are calculated. It's basically breaking down what everything means. It's definitions. Okay. Pretty simple stuff there. Typically you'll see, who, we, what counts as a trailer, what loss of use and diminished value mean. That section basically just sets the legal language for everything. Okay. I'm going to stick to my notes and make sure that I don't forget things here. So that's what the definitions portion is. And that needs to be number one. And the point of this is you want to make sure there's zero confusion where somebody can say, oh, I thought that meant this, or I thought you meant, like it was you saying it to me or me saying it to you because I'm the one reading it or whatever. Okay. You don't want there to be any confusion whatsoever about what something means, plain and simple. All right. Now, the second thing that you're going to want is rental indemnity and no warranties, and warranties, excuse me. So basically, it's going to state you're renting the trailer as is. Okay. And if it's abandoned, misused, or anything like that, you get wind of it or something crazy, whatever it is, you can go and retrieve that trailer without notice. All right. You can just go get it. Plain and simple, especially if it's going to eliminate any further issue with the customer or any further misuse or anything like that. And the other thing that does is it's basically the renter saying that they agree to not sue you or hold you liable for anything if they get sued. So say a customer misuses your trailer, or they do something nefarious with it and they get sued. They can't put any blame on you because the trailer came from you. All right. So that's what that means. And that goes for lawsuits, claims, legal fees, everything. All right. And you don't guarantee anything about the trailer. Now, this is an important one, that you don't guarantee anything about the trailer. When we are vetting a customer, sometimes, and I'm guilty of it myself, admittedly so. So sometimes when we're vetting a customer, they might say, we're doing this with the trailer. And you'll say, oh yeah, no problem. It'll work great for that, whatever. Especially if you put it in text or email or anything like that, that can sometimes be a bad thing, because what if you didn't understand exactly what it is they said they were doing and you told them it'll be fine and they get into an accident, right? That's when things get a little shaky, where things can be kind of contested. Like, if you've got this rental indemnity and warranties clause or section in your contract, and they also have an email or a text from you saying, yes, the trailer will work no problem for what you're wanting to do, or something like that, it can get a little fuzzy. Again, these are really rare scenarios, but it's real life. You have to make sure you cover everything. So when you're talking to a customer, you're vetting a customer, you can give them the trailer dimensions, give them the size, give them the payload capacity, all that kind of stuff. But be careful about, telling people, yeah, you'll be no problem doing this or doing that or whatever. I tell customers what the trailer is, what its capabilities are as far as weight capacity and that sort of thing, the size, and the biggest thing is I just make sure they're not being stupid. Like they've got, obviously if they're trying to do something absolutely crazy, tell them that it's not going to do that. It's not capable of that. Just don't rent to them. And then you're protected, of course, doing that. And of course, if they're using the wrong kind of vehicle or whatever the situation is, that's basic vetting stuff. And we've got a whole episode about vetting that I'll link below as well, if you guys want to check that out. That came out a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, so that's essentially what it is. So you don't want to give that customer any indicator of like, yeah, no problem, you're good to go. Sure, we want to be helpful. We want to help people out. And a lot of you guys are like, I tell people every single day that it'll work no problem. Again, I'm guilty of this myself. It does happen sometimes. But as much as possible, try and limit how much you are telling customers what your trailer will and won't do with specific things. Because again, God forbid something crazy happen. Whatever. But again, what rental indemnity and warranties is, I'm going to read specifically from my notes, so I make sure I outline it. You're renting the trailer as is. If it's abandoned or misused, you can take it back without notice, and the renter agrees to protect you from lawsuits, claims, and legal fees. You don't guarantee anything about the trailer. Okay. So that's what that portion is. You want that in your contract. Okay. The next thing, and by the way, these aren't in any particular order, really, other than the very first one, which is the definitions. You can order them however you want, just so you guys know. This is just the order that I have them on my contract. Number 3, condition and return. Okay. This is really basic. It just states that the trailer must be back on time and in the same condition. So if they return it after hours, they're still responsible for it until you inspect it. So what that means is, like, say if you run contactless rentals, or say you've got a yard or whatever it is, and they drop it off and it's after your posted business hours or any of that kind of stuff, or you haven't confirmed that you've received it, whatever the deal is, that customer is still responsible for it until you inspect it. Even if something crazy happens on your property. Yes, even if that happens. I know it sounds weird, and sure, you'll probably never have an issue, but technically in black and white, that trailer is their responsibility until you have confirmed receipt of that trailer and that you have inspected that trailer and certified that it's good to go. And also that they cannot repair and modify things without your approval. All right. I've seen a lot of other guys that have, posted things in the group, in the Trailer Hustle Facebook group, where customers have tried to do like their own makeshift fixes and stuff. And sometimes customers are going to fix it no problem. I have had customers do that, where they damaged something and they hammered it out, slapped some paint on it, and I could barely even tell, but they still told me about it. I've had people adjust and fix the locks on my toolbox after they messed with it, and it was fine afterward. Totally cool. They usually ask first. Some people have probably done that and I never caught it. Sure. But the contract does state you're not allowed to do shit to my trailer unless you ask for permission. Plain and simple. Okay. I want to know everything that's going on with my equipment. That's another reason why I buy brand new trailers. A lot of you guys will buy used, and that's fine. And I've found some deals that I've passed upon I kind of regret, but I buy new trailers. I want to know everything that's been done to that trailer. That's just how I operate, what I like. It's just kind of the way that I work. So the next thing that you'll want to have in your contract is number 4, which is responsibility for damage or loss and reporting to the police and that sort of thing. So what that means is, or what it needs to cover is that the renter pays for all damage, theft, weather damage, road damage, even if it wasn't their fault. Okay. That one sucks for the customer sometimes, especially when we're talking about flat tires. That comes up a lot. Do I charge the customer for a flat tire? I'm going to get in another podcast in here soon, probably this week, talking about damage. And, I already kind of touched on a lot of these things and tires and how I handle all that, but I'm going to talk about it in a little bit more detail here soon. But yes, customers are responsible for flat tires. Sorry. That's how I operate. I know a lot of you guys don't. The hybrid solution that I have found is I have all my tires covered with the certificates for free replacement from Discount Tire Company. Yes, there's a Discount Tire near you. If there's not, sorry. They're everywhere. They're like McDonald's on every street corner. But if you get the certificates for free replacement, you will basically pay for a new certificate warranty for your tire if it has to get replaced. Mine's around $35 plus my trip to the store. I charge the customer $50. If they blow one of my tires, they get a screw in the sidewall. Whatever the deal is, they run it with low pressure and it gets a heat ring or run flat damage, something like that. Whatever it is, then, as long as it's like a standard road hazard like that, anyway, we'll get into some other tire damage in a second. But if it's something like that, then it wasn't their fault, specifically was not their fault. I luckily get that tire replaced for free, minus the cost of a new warranty, or plus the cost of a new warranty, which is again around $35 to $40. I charge the customer $50 instead of $250. So they're super happy to pay that because they're expecting most of the time super expensive. And here's the thing, even if they're not expecting it and they're like, wait, you're going to charge me for something that wasn't my fault, I can still say, hey, listen, man, I don't charge you the whole, by all means, here's the receipt, $250 tire. I can charge you for that, but I'm not going to get charged that. I'm going to get charged this, and I'm going to charge you for my time to go up there and get it done. My time's worth that. Sorry. And most people are going to be pretty cool with that. I mean, I've never had a customer that was super pissed off ever about a tire issue. In fact, one guy had to buy a tire on the road because he didn't like the idea of driving all the way back from, I think it was New Jersey. He was coming back from somewhere up northeast. And he didn't like the idea of not having a spare after he put the spare on from a blowout. So he bought a new tire that pretty closely matched the other ones. It wasn't exact. It was pretty close. I think the load index was different, but regardless, loading was different. But anyway, he paid $260 for this tire. He brought it back and he's like, so are you going to reimburse me for the tire? Now, some of you guys might say, hell no, I'm not reimbursing him for a tire. Or you might say, yeah, I'll reimburse you for a tire. The way I handled it, because Discount Tire's certificate for free replacement, by the way, not sponsored by Discount Tire. I worked there for a long time. I'm a customer of theirs. It's an amazing company for the most part. The way the certificate works is if you have to buy a tire that does not match the other tires on there because there's not a Discount Tire near you, save the receipt and the tire if you can, and bring that to a Discount Tire. And not only will they refund you what you had to pay for that tire, basically it's up to the cost of that matching tire, whatever its value is. So if you buy like a $200 tire and it's only a $100 tire at Discount Tire, they're only going to give you the value of that tire, which is $100. But that's what they'll do. They'll take that tire, the old tire from you, the one that you had to buy. They'll take the good tire, put it in their used rack, reimburse you for the tire that you had to buy that they just took from you, and then they'll also install a matching new tire, and then you're going to pay for a new certificate for free replacement. To my knowledge, their policy has not changed on that front. So what I did is I refunded that guy's $260 he spent minus my $50 fee. I gave him $210 back. He was super happy. I went to Discount Tire. I got my reimbursement for whatever it was. I still was out just a couple bucks extra, but no big deal. Got the tire replaced. Everything was great. So that's how I handle that. But again, the customer's responsible for it. All right. Now, if it's stuff that is their fault, such as flat spots because they didn't adjust their brake controller, whatever it is, yeah, they're going to pay the full price for the tire because that's not replaced free under my certificate for free replacement or warranty. They hate that word. The other thing is they also pay. All right, you ready for this, guys? They also pay loss of use and diminished value. Okay. Loss of use. Lost use is very, very, very important and very, very, very expensive, guys. I have talked about this till I'm blue in the face. Customers that damage your trailer and it's down, if the trailer's down for 5 days and you ran it for $100 a day, guess how much money you potentially missed out on if you had a customer? $500. So if that's the case, that customer owes you $500. You guessed it. Okay. So you can also use that as a bargaining chip. If say damages are like $3,000 and you've got $500 of lost use who's off the road for 5 days or whatever the deal is, and they're having a hard time coming up with the money or whatever, it's kind of like a cop pulling you over. Cop pulls you over for 20 over and he lowers it down to 6 over just so you don't argue with him. Like he's kind of helping you out, whatever. It breaks the walls down. It makes you less likely to argue with him. It's kind of the same exact thing, but you have this bargaining chip of this lost use, and you can tell the customer, listen, make me whole in the trailer. This $500 sitting over here, I'll eat that. I'll take care of that. Don't sweat it. I just need to be made whole on the trailer. On the other hand, if you can get it paid by the customer from that, then do it. Awesome. That's what it's there for. That's why it needs to be in your contract. And the other thing under that the damage, theft, and policy reporting, and that section, any accident must be reported to you and police within 24 hours. So if that customer has, say, a week-long rental and they crash the thing, they need to report that immediately. And if they do not, then you have a piece of paper here that holds them 100% liable for anything that came of that, regardless of what it was. So very, very, very important to have that responsibility for damage or loss and reporting to the police and all. And again, guys, all these things are to outline how your relationship with that person, that individual, that entity, whoever it is going to go, because you don't want any questions. You don't want any like, well, what if, and da-da-da-da-da. This is going to cover pretty much everything. And there's a couple things at the end of this that we'll talk about too, that you want to have in your contract. And again, if you want this contract, just go to trailerhustle.com. Everything's ready to go with it. You just basically click, you edit it, like download Adobe Acrobat. It's the easiest thing. That's what this thing was probably made with, but it's a PDF. You download Adobe Acrobat, boom, edit PDF. You go and you can type and change and do whatever you want, add your own logos, do your whole thing, print it out yourself. Have a local print shop print it out if you want the carbon copies like I use. This was also talked about in the group today, carbon copies. So, and reach out to me if you guys want to know who to use, but your local print company can do that for you guys. We'll talk about more of that later. The next thing is going to be responsibility for, I already covered that. Okay, here we go. Responsibility for damage or loss, equipment included. Okay, equipment included responsibility. Very important. So I'm going to read my note here. So stay on this. They confirmed that they got all accessories, straps, jacks, spare tire, locks, etc. They must return everything in working order or pay for it. They also confirmed that the trailer and hitch were inspected and accepted as good. And the reason that's important is they can't say like, well, I didn't even look at it. It must have already been that way, whatever. If they're signing this contract, that means you've given them the opportunity to inspect this trailer, to check the trailer out, make sure everything looks like it's good, make sure all the equipment's good, verify what equipment is there and what equipment is not there. If they're like, hey, you don't provide this, just say no, whatever. Sometimes a customer will ask you to write specific things in your contract. That's really rare, but some people are really anal about it and they'll do that. But this gives an opportunity for them to understand what equipment is included. Do you include stake pocket D-rings? Sometimes those things get stolen. What kind of pins do you include? Do you include a hitch? Do you include spare tire tools? Do you include a spare? Do you include a bottle jack? Do you include straps? Do you include axle straps, ratchet straps, chains and binders? What do you include? All right. Wheel chocks. I mean, there's so many things people include with these things. Low pro ramps, for some of them, whatever. And this basically just lets them know You're also responsible for all this shit. So if it gets stolen, lost, whatever, it's on you. Plain and simple. So this section just confirms that they know that the trailer comes with things. They have an opportunity to look at it, inspect it, make sure it's all in good working order. So that way it protects them and you. This section is for you and the customer. The customer is protected because, you can't sit here and say, if they had a chance to look at everything and they know it was good, you can't sit here and say that they did something when clearly it wasn't them, whatever. So next would be a prohibited uses. This is pretty standard for, 99.9% of contracts in general. But it basically just says you're not allowed to do anything stupid or anything illegal, right? So what I wrote down is no illegal hauling, no people inside or on trailers, no drunk or drug use, no unauthorized drivers. So basically the person that's picking that trailer up, it's got to be that person with the vehicle they said, with the insurance they said, the whole thing. That's it. Like if you rent a car, it's going to have the same kind of thing. Hey, you're the only person that's driving this. Plain and simple. Okay. So very important to have that in there. No lying to extend rentals. So for instance, like, oh, I broke down, man. I can't get back in time, whatever. This is layman's terms. Of course, it's all a little bit more, the legal jargon's in my contract, but I'm breaking this down of what each thing is just so y'all know. But yeah, some people will lie just to keep it longer or because they feel like they have to versus, hey man, I'm so sorry. I didn't get everything done. Can I keep it longer? A lot of times they're just afraid that you have a book to somebody else and they'd rather just ask for forgiveness and say they had no choice, versus you saying I need it back and them saying F you, or fine and bringing it back and then missing out on work, whatever it is. The other thing would be like no out of country use, no overloading, no low clearance hits, no reckless use, no signs or paint on the trailer. The signs and paint thing, is a big thing for like parades. A lot of you guys use them for parades or have you had customers use them for parades? I have plenty as well. And especially now that's people attaching stuff to them, but my signs that I have on the trailers and whatever I have, sometimes people want to remove those because they don't want people to know it's rented or they just don't want that on there if they're going to be in a parade or whatever it is. Sometimes they think it looks tacky. I don't know what the deal is, but they're not allowed to touch my shit without my permission. Plain and simple. So don't take my stuff off the trailer. And the next thing you want to have in your contract is going to be about, and by the way, in prohibited uses, basically you're just outlining anything that you don't want that customer to use your trailer for. Some of it's going to be really basic stuff, of course. If you guys use ChatGPT or something to make it, feel free. It'll outline it pretty good, I'm sure. Now, you might have very specific things that you don't want your trailer used for that wouldn't necessarily be something the masses agree with. Like, me personally, I don't rent my deck overs to anybody moving sheds. That's just a personal preference because it's just my personal preference. Not everybody has a forklift in their backyard to offload this thing the right way. They're sliding it around. They're putting pipes under it to move it. They're dragging it off with a truck, all kinds of silly shit. So I don't want people moving connexes or sheds or anything like that with my deck over. So I have it in my contract in my prohibited uses, no sheds, no whatever. I have a few other things in there, the contract I use. So if you have something very specific that you want to add, hit the edit button, add it to my contract. Okay. Again, trailerhustle.com if you guys want to get this thing. And you can edit every single one of these. All right. So I'll go over a couple of other things here in just a moment about that as well. The next thing you want to have in there is charges and fees and kind of outline that whole thing. So for instance, the rental rate and taxes and all that. Rental rate is really important because that's what allows you to calculate lost use. So if a customer damages a trailer and it's down for 5 days or whatever, and you don't have what the rental rate is on there, well, now you're kind of pulling from thin air in the customer's eyes, or so they think, of how much you're charging them versus, hey, it's down for this many days at this much per day. This is how much you owe. Plain and simple, very easy. So you get that in the contract. You also outline about charges for tickets, tolls, towing, storage, recovery costs if they don't return it or it gets towed or whatever happens, attorney's fees if you have to chase down payment. Like if somebody owes you a lot of money and they just don't pay you and you decide to take them to small claims, any fees you spend on that, they're responsible for that as well, 100%. Whatever late fees you might have, you have a late fee, whether it be a percentage or a flat rate, make sure that's in there. Bad check fees and cleaning fees. And, it also, you want to talk about refunds and returns. And, basically you're going to cover a lot of really basic stuff, but you also want to make sure you're very clear about what your fees are if these different things happen. Okay. Some of those things are going to be very, very generic for most contracts, but it's very important to have in there what charges are, and how you're going to execute receiving the funds and how you're going to go after that customer for it. So very, very, very important. The next thing is going to be about deposits. Okay. Now, if you're not collecting deposits, shame on you. Collect deposits. Okay. Collect deposits. Collect deposits. If you're not collecting deposit, you need to. And in the section that talks about deposit, it's very, very simple. I'm going to read you guys exactly what my contract says. You ready? Deposit. We may use your deposit to pay any monies owed to us under this agreement, including our estimate of damages to this trailer. So it's very, very simple. Basically, it says I can use your deposit for anything I want if it's justified. Simple as that. Okay, so I'm going to skip right past that. But you want that in there. You want that in there. Plain and simple. The next thing you're going to want to put in here is modifications to the agreement. And basically that just means that nothing of that agreement is waived ever just from a verbal thing. Anything that can be changed or waived in this agreement needs to be written in the agreement, typed, written, handwritten, whatever, and signed by both parties that those things or those changes took place or were negotiated or whatever. Okay. If y'all have both signed on the dotted line or the customer has signed this, that means this contract is gold. If y'all have a plain conversation with one another, whatever the deal is, it does not matter. Okay. It does not matter unless it's on the contract, black and white. Be smart about this. Okay. Very, very, very important. The other thing within modifications is something that it basically says, if you do decide to change something about the contract, say you're like, yeah, don't worry about it. If it's tires, I'll take care of it. And you modify that. Okay. Well, whatever the deal is, whatever you modify, if you modify that in the contract and y'all both sign off on it, that does not mean that anything else is modified. It's all of a sudden not a free for all for you to say, or the customer to say, well, because you modified that means the rest of the contract can be modified. No, we discussed this. That's it. So that's essentially what the modifications thing, and specifically what I said is nothing can be modified unless you sign it in writing. Verbal promises don't mean squat. The contract replaces this contract replaces every other conversation. So that basically just means the contract supersedes everything unless it is signed and written on there. And then it just becomes a part of the contract and, revert back to what I just said. And then, one of the final things you're going to want to put on here, and this is just the necessities. I'll give you guys a few other things you might want to consider adding, is the waiver and the liability release. Okay. Very, very, very important. And, this kind of goes back to the modification section too, but it's primarily going to be in your waiver liability release. It basically just says if you let something slide and you don't charge the customer for something or whatever it is, like say for instance, you notice that they damaged your fender. Okay. And you tell that customer, hey, I normally would charge for this. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of it for you. But then you notice that they bent your axle. The customer is not allowed to say, oh, well, because you let that slide, that means you're letting everything slide. All right. Because you let something slide or you let something go or you didn't charge the full amount, whatever, doesn't mean that you have to operate that same way with every other thing you find with it. Specifically, I wrote, if you let one thing slide once, it doesn't cancel future enforcement. The customer waives the rights to special or punitive damages, or they waive rights to special or punitive damages. If one part is invalid, the rest of the contract still stands. Okay. So that basically just means if something else in the contract doesn't really matter to the situation, or if, it doesn't apply, or say the contract fails to cover one thing, even in court, whatever it is, because of a loophole of some sort or whatever the deal is. Okay. That doesn't mean that the rest of the contract is void. The rest of the contract still stands, plain and simple. Now, all these things are great. Now, when I was talking about all these things are necessary to put into a contract. There's a lot of contracts out there. Hopefully you guys will support Trailer Hustle and go to trailerhustle.com, show some love there and get a hold of a handful of these documents and use them for your business. But if you have specific things that you don't want your trailer used for, like I mentioned earlier with my deck overs and sheds, or if there's certain things that you want to put in there regarding speed, distance, like they're not allowed to go out of country or, whatever it is, you can add anything you want in there. This is your contract. You get to set it up exactly how you want. I know some guys that put speed in here. The customer, if they get a notification from their GPS stating that the customer broke the speed limit or went above 80 miles an hour or whatever it is, if it's in writing and that customer did that and it says on here that they forfeit their deposit, if there's record of that, plain and simple, it's done. Now, the more picky you guys get on these contracts, the more you have to be transparent with your customers, because the more picky you get, And the more times you start enforcing it and charging customers, the more people will start arguing with you and giving you shit. So you have to be very careful with it. The biggest thing is making sure that customer has an opportunity to review this entire contract. It's very rare people read the thing. But the big things that matter to you, such as the things you might add in here or add to your contract that the average person might not, those are things you need to go over with the customer 100%. Okay, very, 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 very important that you go over that stuff with your customer, because you do not want to have any type of conflict. That's the whole point of this thing is to avoid conflict, number one, and number two, get you paid. Okay, and recover your damages and get your stuff handled. All right, so very, very important. But guys, contract, you want it. You need a contract. Now, if you're using a rental software such as Big Rentals, who is also a partner of Trailer Hustle, and they are also sponsoring the Trailer Hustle Picnic, guys, check the link in the description. Go to the partners page at trailerhustle.com as well. Schedule a call with these guys to get set up. They also have their versions of contracts. You can upload my contract into their system. But contracts are very important. Now, even if you're getting into business with somebody, it's a question I get quite a bit too, which is, hey, if I'm getting into business with somebody and it's going to be they own the trailers, but I'm renting them out, how should we split that up, whatever? Contract, get it in writing. All you guys that are doing business with people on handshake agreements, I understand right now it's fine. And I understand that you think your relationship will never crash and burn, but I promise you there's a chance, okay? This is how friendships and family issues, crumble, or families crumble, whatever. It's just stupid stuff. So contract, black and white. Make sure that any scenario you can think of goes in writing. If you're in a partnership with somebody and they own the trailers and you're renting them out and one gets damaged, okay, how do you divvy up the money for the damage? Who's paying for the damage? Whose cut does it come out of? Does it equally, or is it more from one person versus the other? The trailer's not making any money, so who's getting penalized there? Who handles that? Who's taking it there? Who is picking it up? All these things. All these things play a huge role. If somebody says, hey, I no longer want to be in this partnership with you anymore, I'm taking my trailers with me. Well, now the business is just gone. Like, how do you handle these things? All right. These are very, very important things to put in a contract. And I don't have that contract available at trailerhustle.com, but I am going to have one drafted up here very soon, and make sure that is available for you guys, just to kind of help with that. That's more of a business type thing. I'm also going to be adding a couple of other contracts, such as a trailer lease agreement. So if you have one entity owns your trailers and it is leasing it or renting it to another entity that is actually renting the trailers, or leasing it, I should say, leasing it to that entity that's actually renting it, I will have an agreement for that you guys can have access to. And there's also a few other things, such as equipment rental and like golf cart rental and things like that that'll be getting added hopefully in the next couple of months. I'm just waiting on people that have those degrees on the wall to finish drafting them for me. It's not cheap stuff, and it takes a little while for it to be right. So anyway, so that'll be coming. Guys, I really appreciate y'all tuning into today's podcast. It's all about contracts. Thank you guys so much for your support. Just so y'all know, everything that comes through at trailerhustle.com, finance-wise, when you guys purchase these things, you're supporting me and my livelihood. I'm very grateful for that. It's not lost on me. And that also goes to financing all kinds of cool stuff like the app that we're doing, these giveaways that we're doing. By the way, I need to announce that giveaway. I'm so sorry. I forgot to. I was away this weekend. I've got a family member that's in hospice care and all that, so I was addressing that. But tomorrow's episode, I will announce the winner of the light tester. So sorry I forgot to do that this weekend. I literally just got off the road. It is 8:45 on Sunday night, recording this for Monday, the day you're listening to it. So sorry about that. I will get that done. Aside from that, guys, this is the Trailer Owners Network. This is y'all's network. You guys created this. I'm so grateful that y'all are here. Please keep the comments coming. Keep the feedback coming. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this thing. And I cannot wait to network with all of you guys more and more and more. Keep hustling. This is the Trailer Owners Network. Have a great night, guys. Or great day, I should say. See you guys.